Hello, my name's Paul Edwards. Welcome to Man Friendly Church, a channel dedicated to bringing equality back into the house of God, so we have an equal number of men and women. We do this in two ways. First, by understanding how men and women think differently, and second, by promoting methods that encourage men to attend and become part of the local church. One thing I've noticed over the years is when you go to church, a lot of the men seem to be what I would call house trained. They have learnt the rules of what is expected in their church. It starts off first by how do they dress? Do they have to dress appropriately? Some churches you have to wear a suit, like the guy here. Sometimes if you're wearing a suit you're out of place. There are rules which they have to learn and be house trained for that church. And then there's more they have to be trained for. They have to know what they can't do in church. There are certain no-nos. You can't smoke in or near the church building. Obviously, no drink, no alcohol. In some churches, if you even smell of tobacco or alcohol as you walk in the door, you're frowned upon. During a sermon, you've got to know the rules. Are you supposed to shout and cheer as the preacher goes on? Or are you supposed to sit quietly and take it all in? Are you supposed to arrive nice and early? I've been to a church at the time stated on the signboard and no one's there. I've been to other churches, you miss by 2 minutes and they all eye you up as you walk in. Learn the house rules, what is expected. And then you go to a church, most churches will expect you to get used to the hug. Welcome, glad to see you, brother. You need to learn the language. Brother, what does that mean? And then there's lots of other words and phrases they mean. Are you washed in the blood of the Lamb? Come to the communion table. Are you saved? That all means something, but not to a man there for the first time. The man who's not yet house trained. And of course, the really important thing for a lot of churches is, can you enjoy a long sermon? Personally, I endured long sermons, but you're supposed to enjoy it. I learned how to pretend to be listening and taken in. But that is a house-trained man when you get to that stage. My argument is, if we want to reach the world out there, Jesus said, go into all the world and make disciples. He says you've got to go out there. You need to get them to talk to you. You've got to talk to them at their level. And if you want things to work for the average man walking in off the street, you've got to have a man-trained house. I suggest you train your house, your church, your people in how to respond when a man comes into your church. Look, I can see you having a drink. Can you just finish that before you come in? Is that okay? If you just pop round the corner, there's an outside ashtray. You can finish a cigarette there before you come in. Be good to see you when you're ready. Have you made it clear to your whole church that we don't judge people as they walk in, we welcome people. We want to see people come. They may not be perfect, but they'll only get there if they come to know Jesus, and we can then lead them to a better life. But judging people the minute they come in, no, that's not good. Make it a rule in the church that you can wear what you like. In fact, you might want to encourage some people to wear different things. If you want to get anybody to feel comfortable, sometimes I'll turn up to church in jeans and a sweatshirt or a t-shirt. Sometimes I'll turn up in a tie, maybe a jacket. Depends what mood I'm in. There is no rule at my church. If you make it no rule, people will feel comfortable coming in, then they'll come back because they felt comfortable. They might stay. When there's jargon going around, during the notices or possibly even during the sermon, try and explain the words. Don't let people feel idiots. Men don't like to feel silly. Men don't like to be confused. They don't like to show their weaknesses to others. Asking a man when he walks into your church if he is saved and he doesn't know what saved means, you're not doing him or your church any favours. Get to know the people, then ask the questions. And if there are any phrases used during the sermon or during the notices that are confusing, you can actually explain it. We encourage the person running the communion table to explain what's going on before we share communion in our church. Make it easy for visitors to know what's going on, and don't put men off by not wanting to be the odd one out. And please, this might sound minor, but if we keep the sermon short, I guarantee visiting men will listen more and they'll be able to remember it more and use it more. A long sermon is not going to do you any favours bringing in new people. If you can do those things I've just outlined, you are man training your house. You're going to have more chance of getting men come in and then, more importantly, to want to come back. It's difficult for them to walk in the first place, but if they feel uncomfortable when they get there, you've got to make it so they want to come back. So I'm going to finish here with some challenges of how you can make your church trained for men. It works best if you can encourage your leadership to watch this video and understand what's going on. It works best if it comes from the top and trickles down. Be great if we could make it a rule that there is no rule on what you wear on a Sunday. Encourage anyone to come in however they want to. If there are rules, make them really simple and obvious and workable for a visitor. This one you may not like because this is a tradition in churches, but the problem with traditions is they are just that. They're a tradition, not something that God has said must happen. I suggest you ban hugging of a person the first time they come to church. You actually make it a rule. You cannot hug anyone until you've seen them 2 or 3 times and they're comfortable and know you. That will make men a lot more comfortable when they come into your church. I've been in the church a long time. Most of the phrases mean something to me, but somebody who's new won't get it. If you want to find out what are the confusing items that your church says, why don't you ask somebody who's not been a Christian for long, who's recently joined your church, to explain anything he doesn't get of what you say and do? So if he doesn't understand it, it's likely that other people won't. So try and make it a rule. If those phrases are used, that you explain them when they are used. That'll make men more comfortable. And this is another challenge which some people will be uncomfortable with. Shorter sermons. I know I go on about this, but it really will make a difference to visitors wanting to come back if they are unsaved. If your church is angling just to bring as many Christians in, then don't worry about the short sermons. But if you're going to take the Matthew 28 commandment from Jesus to go into the world, preach the gospel, baptise men in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, you can only baptise new Christians. You can't keep rebaptising old Christians. So if you want to baptise some new Christians, you're going to make your church man-friendly, new person friendly, so they come in and they'll stay.